Elizabeth, thanks for your presentation. I'm interested in learning more about your experiences with AR, augmented reality, and do you have any examples of these types of projects? And I'd like to learn more about the tools that you use to build out these.
Okay, yeah, great. I'd love to show you.
I was going to ask the same thing.
So, thank you very much. It is something that I am working on, and I'm going to just pull up it's going to be a still, and it's just, nothing is going to come flying at us now. So, I've run through a couple iterations of tools. One of the things that you can kind of quickly become overwhelmed with is what tool to use to build. And you feel like once you go down a road, if you've started putting in data, you should stick with it. So I have gone through a couple of options. Karma is a program that was developed at Georgia Tech to do open source research-based augmented reality, and it's quite, it's a good tool. I am a heavy user of Zotero and Omeka, and I really feel like when possible I like to use those open source tools that have been developed in universities for digital humanists. However, I have had a little bit more success more quickly teaching this tool, Orsma. This was made in 30 seconds, and if anyone has the app on their phone, this will actually play a documentary about this is again an image from Liang Sicheng's drawings. It will play CCTV, China Central Television made in English a multi-part documentary about Liang Sicheng and his wife. And so if you point your phone at this, it will play the documentary for you. So there's a video layer that I dropped on top of so this is called a target image, which is what triggers your phone or any sort of smart device, so an iPad will play the video. One of the things that I like about this is that it's a drag and drop. It's a beautiful tool. I mean, the thing about private or corporations is that the tools have a lot of money behind them, so the user interfaces are quite slick, and that's a great thing. And I think particularly in teaching in a classroom, students can start using that pretty quickly. Again, you'd have to kind of negotiate whether using a third party is something that each institution wants to do. So there are options, and I'm happy to send you other ones that I've kind of poked around and tried out. So, but I've been pretty pleased with it. This is the tool that's taught at DHSI, which is the Digital Humanities Summer Institute at the University of Victoria, and it seems to be something that people are exploring and trying out.
Thank you so much. I may missed something you said, but you say you use the 3D printer of images, and I'm not really sure. I don't think I never use 3D printer, so I just don't know how do you articulate the measurement and I assume you are putting in a smaller scale, but how do you make sure that are you teaching students to the research project to make sure to understand the size and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think you're gesturing towards the importance of scale,
yeah.
Particularly around architectural drawings, etc.
Right.
Or, for instance, if you're looking at a jaw that's 400% larger than what it actually is, you draw different conclusions. So yes, all of those things are important. So thinking about what does the tool allow you to do? So taking the three-dimensional drawings, this is particularly useful because he actually has measurements, so you're able to then scale it, but also thinking about what does it mean to go from 2D to 3D, and that's a kind of theoretical discussion that needs to happen within the classroom. But something like AutoCAD or Google SketchUp or 123Catch, these are all tools that you can take images and model them in 3D. So you have a sense of that transformation. But I agree, it is something you can't. it's like a scale on a map. You have to get it. You have to ask students to think about what it means to capture that data.
Hi, this question is for anybody who's using this kind of stuff in the classroom. I guess I have two questions. One is, how do you calculate the trade-off between the time that you need to spend to train students on the software or the hardware or whatever, and the stuff that you don't get to teach about the, what your class is ostensibly about? So how do you, where's the cost-benefit analysis for that? And then second of all, do you ever see these as sort of like Part A and Part B courses that you have to work in with the rest of your program? I mean, your I guess overall curriculum, because I could see where you might have Class B, which requires Class A, because Class A gives you the groundwork to do this stuff, and then Class B then puts it into practice. So, if I don't know, either one of you want to comment on that, one way or another.
Michaela's headed up here, but
I'll head up there. Sorry.
Absolutely. I mean, I would also love to. That's a great question, because it's one of the things that I'm constantly wondering, am I teaching a tool because it's a tool that I think can do something interesting? What are the learning outcomes? What are the learning objectives? And what am I gaining or losing in the teaching of the tool? Again, to go back to your first question about tools, for instance, I do a lot of animated GIFs in my Chinese cinema class, because I think what it does is it allows students to watch again and again and again a short bit, and so they're doing close looking over a shorter period of time, but they're also learning, what does it mean to make an animated GIF. So I think when you can tie it to something, like I used to have them do clip analyses that were, a minute, and I would choose the clips. So now I have them choose the loop and then write a text about why they chose that. Like that you have to see this section of the film in order to understand the whole film. So because I've been able to tie learning objectives that I had in a different form and a different assessment, I now have them in pairs come up with an animated GIF, and they have to post it and defend it to their classmates as to why they chose those. But I agree, it's one of those things, like, we can't assume that students have necessarily proficiency on a tool, and if we do, how are we excluding certain students? When can we book time so having a laptop is not something that is a precondition to making these things? I try to think about what tools one might be useful in classes, like really divergent classes. If I was using this tool in a history class, if I could hit 2 or 3 classes where I imagine a student might use it, then I think it's worth the time. But I totally agree. There's no clear.
I think I would add to that, in my own mind, I borrow the acronym MLA, and I think about materials, I think about limitations, and I think about assessment. So if the materials you need to be working with really, honestly, can't be accessed in some way other than through a digital project, there's no more cost-benefit analysis. That's your class, and you're going to have to work it in. I think limitations are important. One of the things, we'll pull from Omeka, there are ways to sort of siphon down the number of tasks that students would be responsible for in a project. Even if they're putting on metadata, you can limit to 3 fields, so that time constraints are somewhat smaller for projects. And then I think assessment, in terms of developing your own classes, if what you can do is make the project or the digital interactions, and I'm so excited to look at Alexandra's, what was that page called? Omeka Gym. Thank you, Omeka Gym, because she's got stuff on assessment. I think if what you can do is make the students' assessments reflective of the amount of effort that they're putting in to learn the technologies and to interact with the materials, then I think your cost-benefit analysis again changes, because it becomes more appropriate to spend that kind of time. But I also, in reference to your second comment, I love the idea of sort of having a prerequisite class, and I think the sense that I get, and I think probably both of us as clear postdocs have this feeling, that fairly soon, I think basics in digital humanities will be required courses for a lot of undergraduate students. Certainly that's, would you say that's fair? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're getting these components in a lot of their classes and early on in their careers. So I think the environment, the landscape for students and for faculty is changing in hopefully very useful ways in which you won't have to make a prerequisite class. They'll just get it as part of a first-year seminar or some early coursework.
Thank you both. So once again, a round of applause for them.